everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Tyranny. Last episode, we spoke with Fifth Eye to find out what we needed to do for him. We ended up having to speak with a prisoner to try and get some information, but all she was able to give us was a scroll which we couldn't read. He ended up killing her for it, instead of letting her join. However, another prisoner did say that he could read it, so we spoke with him and had him read it. We had to fight in order to get his freedom, but it worked out in the end. Now let's speak with this new person, Lantry. Lantry stops his stride, darting his hands about his bandolier and belt as he softly mouths off a mental inventory of his ancient quills. When at last assured his possessions are in place, he looks up at you with a smile. What might I do for you? All right. Who are you? Apologies if I didn't properly introduce myself earlier. All my works are written under the name Sage Lantry of the Vellum Citadel, but outside of proper citations, Lantry will suffice. 5 tomes are bound by my hand, and I've trained letters and numbers to nearly 1,000 minds, but most of all that work went up in flames. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the tiers wondering where life will go after these messy years. If you're going to be traveling with me, I need to know more about you. An understandable request. Let's see. Born in Sunder, no kids. What few longings of fatherly love I've got in my heart are satisfied by taking care of carrier birds. Learned my sigils and spells about 30 years back, and being able to defend myself has opened a life of field study, and haven't grown tired of the wandering life just yet. I've written on all manner of subjects, magic, birds, language, geometry, but my main focus has been chronicling. I find there's no finer pursuit than recording the events of our times. There will always be legends of what happened. Someone ought to be making note of the real thing. Aside from that, I don't know. I practice centering stands, draw portraits, make my own inks, and have a sharp aversion to autobiography. I'm about as boring as watching coral grow. Huh. How do you wind up here in Vendrian's Well? When the Vellum Citadel was set aflame by Kyros's edict, I fled as fast as my knees would carry me. Every direction seemed a bad idea, but heading to Vendrian's Well seemed the least suicidal option. Mind you, I was laboring under the misconception that the Vendrian Guard had surrendered and the fighting in the valley had stopped. Looking at his left arm, then his right, he reads through the assorted notes inked across his skin. Ah yes, 7th of sparring, that's when I crossed the mountains. That would be 2 days? 3 days after the Vendrian Guard jettisoned their surrender and claimed the citadel in the valley. The Vendrian Guard nabbed me and several other sages moving through the valley. The other sages were sympathetic to the Vendrian Guard. As for me, I just agreed so as not to get everyone killed. I think defying the Overlord is a really slow and stupid form of suicide. Tell me about your work with the Oathbreakers. The Vendrian Guard has several nobleborn in their ranks, and they know their letters. Problem is, they've come from noble houses scattered across the realms, each with their own private script. That's where the sages and I come in. Between us, we're familiar enough with all the regional scripts to translate and coordinate. But translating is child's play, so I might have helped out a bit more. The old citadel at the center of the valley is a crumbling affair, and there's no time for proper construction. It seemed a crime not to put my magic to work. What did you learn of their plans in your time there? It won't surprise you to know their strategy is largely non-existent. They cling to the hope that their example will inspire others in the tiers to come to the valley and join the cause. The recent inaction between the Archons has emboldened them. Some even think the Archons fear the Vendrian Guard. I'm sure they have it quite wrong. What else can you tell me about the Oathbreakers and their forces? The Vendrian Guard surrendered back in 429, and while a lot of them were conscripted in the chorus, 3 of the leaders, Captains Ari, Matani, and Florian, never turned themselves in. Instead, they hid in the valley, gathering up what resources they could until they could challenge the local garrison. At highest count earlier in the year, they numbered over 400, the ranks swollen by soldiers of Haven and Azure that survived the war. They are a dying breed, these Oathbreakers. Most in the tiers have finally come to realize that Kairos has already won. And before you ask, as connoisseur of the inevitable, I have made my peace with the Overlord and bow to his might. So you provided military aid to the Oathbreakers? When the servant of the Archon of Justice asks me that question, I can't help but assume it's the antecedent to some sort of punishment. I can't deny that I assisted the Oathbreakers, but the alternative was to starve in a cell and maybe lose my head. I realize this is an offense to the Overlord, but it's not like I increased their odds of winning in any significant way. So you're an expert with fortifications? Hardly, but I am an expert on preservation magics. The same cantrips we use at the School of Ink and Quill to preserve our manuscript against worms and decay are, in principle, as applicable to stone as they are to parchment, plus or minus some improvisation. Intent matters. You were doing what you needed to survive. Well, I trust my future actions will show I mean to be of service, not a source of problems. How did you wind up a prisoner of the chorus? I had to send some missives, and that meant getting to a clearing where my turns and droves might find me. The patrol with me was ambushed by the Scarlet Chorus. I tried to flee the scene, but some youngster tackled me, and well, out of one fire into another. That's been a running theme this year. I mean, this year too. Let me ask about something else. What might I do for you? Tell me about your magic. Oh, I don't much like to brag about things like that. Not asking you to brag, I meant asking you to tell me what you can do. My major areas of focus have been preservation, concealment, and healing. Arts that have served me well in this newfound life as a peripatetic prey animal. The sages study all kinds of magic, but as a chronicler, I wanted magic that would help me see more, archive more, protect objects of historical value. Seeing as I feel like an old relic in need of some protection, my skills suit me well. Can you teach me anything? Sure. I can show you how to blend your own inks, train birds to think you're their mom, how to turn a goat into parchment, but I'm sure you'd prefer to learn some magic. If the School of Ink and Quill still mattered, I'd maybe be more tight-lipped, but if we're going to travel together, you should know how to mend wounds, especially if I'm killed. I know the edict still looms, but if you have a few hours, I could show you the basics of healing magic, or at least how I learned it. I would be honored to learn a little of what you know. Rummaging through his satchels, the sage produces a long quill and a crumpled piece of parchment. With 7 quick strokes of the quill, he inks a pattern on the page. We'll start with the first principles. When mending wounds and easing pain, we invoke the magic of the orphan midwife, Archon of Rebirth. By invoking her sigil, we channel her mastery, however briefly, through our hands. Now, trace the sigil, following the lines in the order I sketched them. What can you tell me about this Archon of Rebirth? I didn't realize you gave a care about your history. Well, the orphan midwife was born in 160, bowed to Kairos in 201. They say where she walked, plants would sprout, the sick would grow vigorous. She'd also send most folks into fits of rage and animals into heat. She sounds like quite a riot. We know her magic by way of one of her first disciples, who migrated to the Tiers in 222 to spread her wisdom, an act that happened to be illegal under Kairos' law. For that, and a host of other transgressions, the orphan midwife has been imprisoned for over a century. Or so the story goes. Follow his instructions. Since this isn't your first cantrip, I'll move a little quickly, but I think you can keep up. Lantry walks you through countless repetitions of the signing of the mystic sigil. For hours you wave your hand in the air to no effect, until at last you sign the pattern in the air and feel a rush of power through your veins. And so, if you need to heal pain as opposed to purge an infection, you move your hand like so. But you know, that's enough for now, and I think the rest you can figure out on your own. Alright, tell me about the sages. For hundreds of years, the sages have been devoted to the collection and preservation of knowledge. We are scholars, bookmakers, archivists, and students of the mystic and the mundane alike. The wisest of our guild, not that I truly belong in that category, are versed in sigils and spellcraft. Or that's at least how it used to be. With the destruction of the Vellum Citadel, the sages have been scattered to the winds. There were once more sages than I can name. Many have died or been taken prisoner by Kairos' forces. What do you know of the Vellum Citadel? Lantry scowls. His writing hand becomes unusually still. I once felt a rush of pride at that name. Now it's a blight on our reputation. The Vellum Citadel was a beautiful sanctuary of parchment and ink. We had amassed knowledge from the Northern Empire to the coast of the Tiers. It would take a score of lifetimes to learn all the Citadel could teach you. But the sages in charge of the Vellum Citadel thought themselves above Kairos' rules. The Overlord learned the sages were copying and spreading lies and forbidden knowledge. Kairos put an end to life at the Citadel with his Edict of Fire. Lantry stops, putting a hand to his face. All that knowledge set aflame. When we bind books, we bind them to last. Our most important tomes were warded against fire and other maladies. So many of the books remain intact as the shelf and floor melt away. I suppose it's still there. If you want to brave danger and certain death for it, there's a good reason they call it the Burning Library now. Who leads the school? I keep learning more names of those who died during the Edict of Fire, so my information could be obsolete. But with Sage Krevnik incinerated, Sage Renata would be the current provost. And if she dies... Well, fuck, thanks to all the recent deaths, maybe I'll be next in line. Let's archive that away under things to worry about later. In truth, there isn't much guild left to lead. Our library fortress is in ashes, our membership in disarray, and it doesn't help that we have something of a spotty reputation here in the tiers. Fear of magic being something of a local specialty. What's your role in the guild? I'm one of the chief writers of the Chronicle. It's our attempt to record the truth of all things in their proper sequence. It's the ongoing life work of generations of sages, and I have the honor of witnessing history and having my vantage point be a matter of record. Alright, we'll talk more later. Indeed. I have a finite appetite for discussing myself, and I'm more than sated. Let us press onward. Before we continue, I just have a question.
You look as if you have something on your mind. By all means, what can I do for you?
Immediate concerns, travel companions. What do you think of Lantry? I do not know how many years he has walked the face of Terratus, but he clearly knows more than he claims to. Since he claims to know a great deal indeed, there is no limit to what he could be holding back. Understood. Thank you. Wish I could see what time it was. Okay, so, we learned a new core. It's the Sigil of Life. Using the Sigil of Life infuses the target with the energy of the Orphan Midwife, Archon of Rebirth. All but the most serious wounds are healed by this arcane energy. Though the Orphan Midwife was powerful, her gifts were not suited to resisting the armies of Kairos. She was captured and chained, and her powers harnessed to serve Kairos' armies. Many chroniclers of Kairos' empire believe her powers were the driving force behind the empire's quick expansion. And the expressions we have are... Restoring Touch. Channel healing energy into the target, restoring health instantly. Or, we have... Healing Wisps. Release tiny bolts of life energy that restore a large amount of health to the target. So let's see. That one is effectively the same as this one. Although I could improve it. This one... None of us can use it right now. It is way too powerful. Unfortunate. So let's see. You have Restoring Touch. You would not be able to use that. And you would not be able to use that. In fact, nobody would. We need to improve lore in order to get things better. Unfortunate. I have a little bit of control life magics, but I haven't used it for anything. Oh! Rogue's Leathers needs more in order to do it, I guess. Okay, let's see here. Do you have any more? No. Okay, how do I... There we go. So if I do this... There we go. Now we got our two heavy hitters in the front. Our agile one in the back, next to the healer. Okay, I'll take this. And with that, we can get out of here. We've got a lot of things that we need to handle. We can at least try and make our way towards somewhere. Let me just save first. Alright, let's take a look here. So we have 4 locations. Remote Settlement. This village is far from the major settlements in the valley and has not involved itself in the conflict thus far. It may be possible to recruit some of the residents and add to the Scarlet Course's ranks. Echo Call Crossing is a village situated along one of the narrow sections of the Matani River. It is the main route into the heart of the valley and possesses two highly defensible bridges. Many settlers in the area are believed to be directly assisting in the rebel effort. We also have Tripnettle Wilderness. Tripnettle earned its title from a preponderance of thick, stinging nettles. Though expanding settlers aggressively cleared the plant, the name persisted. Tripnettle is but one of several expansive forests in the valley, easily capable of obscuring rebel movements and operations. You determine that the Vendrian Guard have operated in this area, making it a prime location to secure. And Northern Clearing. Apex's forests give way to rockier terrain as one approaches the eastern mountains. Disfavored Earthshakers reportedly travel to this location and may still be present. I want to try and complete the side quests for... Well, I feel like going into the remote settlement won't necessarily adjust Tripnettle Wilderness, but... We only have 7 days. That's the thing. So... 2 hours to there, 3 hours to there, 9 to there, 12 to there. So from here to here is 3 hours. Here to here might be about 2 or 3 hours. We could go through a fair bit of it. I feel like if we went to the remote settlement, then the northern clearing to do the side quest, it would take a ridiculously long time. But the remote settlement is close. If we need to go back to one of the camps, we could do it quickly. And we'll learn whether we really need to or not. So, let's go to the remote settlement and see what happens. Then we'll go to the northern clearing. From there we can go back to Tripnettle Wilderness and then to Echo Call. In fact, if many settlers in the area are believed to be directly assisting, going to the remote settlement might actually help with that. Interesting. Let's make our way to the remote settlement. As you make your way along one of the wide dirt roads that winds through the forest of Old Apex, the mountains loom above you on every side, and only the mountain spire, jutting skyward from the center of the broken realm, provides a consistent landmark by which to navigate. Cresting a hill, you make out a flash of light on bronze through the trees, accompanied by the movement of several individuals. That much bronze, you realize, must indicate a group of Oathbreakers, and they seem to be just around the next bend in the road. Approach quietly, approach openly, or avoid them. Let's approach quietly. Keeping low and using the thick foliage as cover, you move carefully through the underbrush, marking the concave bend in the road. The far side of the bend slowly resolves in your view, revealing not one patrol of warriors, but 2. Apex heraldry and heavy bronze scale marks the first group as members of the Vendrian Guard. The other warriors, however, wear rings of bronze set in heavy cured leather, a sigil on their tabards styled in the likeness of the Bane. You recognize them from your times as governor of Lethian's Crossing. These are members of the Bronze Brotherhood, brutal mercenaries out of Haven. Spy on them, speak with them, attack, or avoid them. Let's spy on them. Moving with extreme care, you close to within listening distance of the 2 groups. As you eavesdrop on them, it becomes immediately clear that the Vendrian Guard hope to recruit the mercenaries, explaining to them in no uncertain terms that if the citadel of Vendrian Well falls, Kairos' edict will slay every Tearsman confined within the valley. Such is the way of the Overlord, the Oathbreaker tells the mercenary. His troops die, or we all die. There's no middle road, no parley, and no quarter. Oh. We will expose the lie. You step forward, revealing yourself from the brush, sending the Tearsman scrambling to ready a bristling bronze wall of spears, swords, and shields. You point at the guardsman, calling out his self-serving lie. The mercenaries have little to gain from working with the Vendrian Guard and everything to lose. The Edict of Execution shall slay those in the valley only if the citadel does not fall to Kairos' forces. You should know, you tell them. The edict was issued by your lips. Even as the Vendrian guardsmen howl for your head and advance on you with weapons drawn, the mercenaries holster their arms and withdraw into the woods. And so we begin a fight. Come and finish it, northern lapdog. Indeed we shall. Let's get our buffs out here. Titan's touch on yourself. You get a renewal out. You get your spectral blur out on yourself. You're gonna wait for them to come
at me, Grace.
or just attack. I don't care for that.
Well.
You know what? Give him a stun.
On it.
Try and daze him.
I'll tear your stuff.
Ah, crap. Didn't care for that. This is bad.
Will do.
Okay, that worked. You, try and do something about her.
I'm not dead yet.
You know what? We need to get that one harassing us.
Await my signal.
Filthy hands off me!
Come on, get these two dead.
On it.
Almost. There we go. That could have gone better. So we've got broken armor and water. More water there. Oh! You got a level up. Excellent! Let's get rid of that penalty. Yes. And let's see here. Let's see. Moves quickly about the battlefield. 2 quicklies for enemies to engage her. After a kill, Verse will strike twice with her targets for a short time. When an enemy strikes Verse, she gains a passive bonus to dodge and parry skill until combat ends. Interesting. Mocking Iron versus taunts her foe and raging him and forcing... I don't like that one. Skirmisher. Hobble Prey versus pins the target's feet with an arrow, hobbling them so they move more slowly. Eternal Flame. Launch an arrow drenched in oil and covered flames. Sets foes on fire for much longer than Burning Iron. Replaces Burning Iron. Oh, okay. Attacks made with bows gain armor penetration, and while only wearing light armor, gain a bonus to dodge. So, we can either have her be a frontline fighter or a ranged combatant. Let me see. I kinda like the idea of ranged. What does she have? Tearsman's Spine Bow. She's also got Red Rivers and Gutseeker, which are her 2 weapons there. The bow is just a bow. I like having Know Your Enemy. That sounds like it would be a good one to have, regardless. Okay. Well, let's walk around this place, see if we find anything else that could be useful. Well, there are at least 2 more that we can check. That's not what I wanted. Let's see. Bronze bracers and blood moss. And over here we have what? A keen javelin and a merchant's hat. Let's see. This javelin, is this any better? It's got a little lower accuracy, but it's got a slight... Nah, it's not better. As for this, let's see, bronze bracers. Yeah, I want to be wearing heavy armor. Damn it. Something's been up with my mouse lately. Merchant's hat is not really a purpose. Light armor. Yeah. I'll leave him with what he's got. You, however... a little more deflection, a little more precision. Yeah, we'll take that. Stop that. I think that works. Anything else? No. Alright. Oh, wait, there's one more thing to check here. Fruit. Alright, moving on. And we make it to the remote settlement. And here I am going to end this episode because it has gone on long enough. Next episode, we'll go through this remote settlement and see what we can find and do here. Let's see if we can get these people to join the Scarlet Chorus. Chorus will probably be very happy about it. But that'll be in the next episode. So until then, I'm Cheswick44. That is Jason Pendragon, Barrick, Verse, and Lantry. This has been a Let's Play of Tyranny, and I shall see you all next time.